Money is the one thing that affects every single person on this planet, no matter how rich, poor you are, whatever, it affects you. And so you need to have some type of plan for this one thing that has a tremendous impact on our lives. I would think of it the same way that you prioritize, good eating habits and physical fitness, etc. You need your financial health to be in order too.
Hey, Cindy, it's so great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Hi, Shannon. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, of course. So, Cindy, tell us a little bit about your story and how zero-based budget came to be, because I always find this story interesting, even though I've seen it on the news outlets myself and I've been following you. But for our folks listening, tell them a bit of the background behind ZBB.
Yeah, sure. So I'm the daughter of immigrants. I have a very typical daughter of immigrant story, born and raised in the Bronx, New York. And, like most immigrant families, we didn't have many financial resources, growing up. But what was our way out of poverty was education. Like that is always what my family really drilled in is education, education, education. And so like any good daughter of immigrants, I went to college and then I went to law school. And when I went to law school, I was so tunnel visioned in on the American dream that I didn't realize the American dream was really expensive. And law school is a beast, both in terms of the effects that it would have on my mental health, but also the effects that it would have on my pockets. Okay. And I do mean that really it is a dual effect, however, and I'll go into that in a second, because you see, law school really gave me the opportunity to realize my dream of becoming a successful attorney, right? Which is what I wanted. And all the financial resources that comes with that, which is great. But it also gave me over $200,000 of debt. And this is debt that I just had to figure out. I had to figure it out, and I had to figure it out on my own because, my parents, there was really no way for my parents to kind of guide me onto, this path of financial freedom, debt freedom that I wanted to go on. That I didn't know I needed to go on, but sure enough, soon I would learn I needed to figure out just, how to handle my finances. And it was probably in my second year or so of paying off my debt. I was becoming much more financially literate, really understanding everything regarding debt, from refinancing to, capitalized interest and all these terms that school had never taught me, that I launched my Instagram page, Zero Based Budget. And I named it Zero Based Budget because that is the type of budget that I was on. So a zero-based budget, for those of you that may not be familiar, is essentially a budget where you give a purpose to every dollar. You allocate every dollar to a specific goal. That could be saving, investing, paying off debt, your expenses, etc. And I was on this very strict budget, and I decided to document my journey. I documented my journey on a very public platform like Instagram, because I didn't see anyone really talking about these topics of debt and how to pay it off. And so I launched ZBB really because I wanted to educate people on money, just your basic budgeting, emergency fund, how to get started with investing, those types of topics, but also on a real life case study of someone that was paying off their six-figure debt.
And I think that's what makes it so relatable and why it took off, because I think that behind closed doors, all of us are struggling with this. And for someone to come out front and say, yeah, me too, and here's what I'm doing about it, is really powerful. It's kind of like a weight loss journey, honestly, where someone can just get vulnerable and say, hey, this is what I'm doing to better my financial, physical, mental, whatever it is, health.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I did. And it was scary. It was scary. I was very, I actually had the account was anonymous for the first 8 months because I was embarrassed. I actually didn't want anyone to know. I mean, my sisters
Wow.
didn't even know. And my sisters are my best friends. Okay. Like I am extremely close with my sisters. The only person that knew was my husband, who was then my boyfriend. And, I told him, I was like, I'm doing this thing. It's really weird. I don't want to tell anyone, but I think I can help some people like on the internet. And it wasn't until I started just kind of sprinkling little bits of money advice and kind of like tidbits on my personal account, actually, like where my family and friends were, that they were like, you should start a page just for this. Like this, and people were flooding me. I mean, like friends from elementary school, from high school, my sorority sisters from college that were just DMing me like, hey, Cindy, I'm actually struggling with this credit card. Do you have any tips for me? I also have over $100,000 of debt and I'm drowning and I don't know what to do. Do you have any tips? And when I started seeing my own loved ones seeking this kind of advice, I thought to myself, I can't be so selfish as to keep this information to myself.
And that's exactly it though. It's overcoming that feeling of, that resistance that we have by understanding that you actually could be selfish by not empowering others with what you know, by keeping it to yourself. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So why do you think, I know that, at least I've heard a million times with business owners, especially, right? The word budget gives people like chills. Like, I don't want to have to do a budget. There's so much like negative connotation with that word. How do you present or represent that word budget, how you define it and how you would encourage other folks to look at it?
Yeah. So I think when it comes to the word budget, people have two main issues. One is it sounds restrictive. It sounds like I'm not going to be able to spend on things that I want to spend. And I don't want anyone giving me rules. I don't like it. Right. So that's one thing. Another thing is it's going to take time. Like, I don't have time to budget. I don't have time to try to figure that out. So it's two things, right? It's the restrictiveness of it all, and as well as the time that it takes. However, this is how I present what the word budget is. All it is your money plan. Everyone needs a money plan. I don't care what your background is in terms of how much you make, how much debt you have, racially, religiously, anything, like whatever your background is, okay? Whatever your background is, money affects all of us. Money is the one thing that affects every single person on this planet, no matter how rich, poor you are, whatever, it affects you. And so you need to have some type of plan for this one thing that has a tremendous impact on our lives. Because if you don't, then I mean, where are you going really, right? Like what direction are you going in when it comes to your finances? Such a critical component of your life. I would think of it the same way that you prioritize, good eating habits and physical fitness, etc. You need your financial health to be in order too. And so the way that I look at a budget is all it is your money plan. Okay. Your budget is going to tell you what you can spend on, but it's going to go based off of your values. You see, because if someone is really passionate about, for example, getting their mani-pedi every other week, it's their them time, it's their time to relax, then put it in your budget. I'm not telling you to cut that out of your budget. No, put it in your budget, right? But your budget's also going to tell you, well, because we're doing that, maybe we can't go so crazy with like the entertainment category or the dining out category. Maybe we need to just be mindful of those. So the thing is that you set those parameters though. Like no one else sets those guidelines for you. It's you. It's value-based spending. That's really what it comes down to. I'm never going to tell someone you can't have your $5 latte. You can't have your avocado toast. That's honestly, I think that's really silly, right? But what I am going to tell you is take a moment to just sit down and figure out where your money is going, but also where do you want it to go? Because those can be two different things. When you look at where your money has been going for the past few months, and I truly mean this, right? For all of your listeners, sit there and I challenge you to just take a look at where your money has gone over the past, say, 3 months. Look at your debit card statements, your credit card transactions. Are you happy with that? That's the question, because we tend to fall into this trap of just spending kind of mindlessly. And then we have buyer's remorse. We have this regret. We feel kind of icky, right? Versus if you flip that on its head and you say, no, actually, this is where I want my money to go. This is how I want to spend it. You're going to find actually more peace with that, and also more control.
Yeah, it's really about priorities and your values. Yeah. And one thing, I heard this piece of advice before, or this kind of, it's almost like a quote in my head that I keep sitting with, which is, if you show me your bank statements and you show me your calendar, I'll know exactly what's important to you.
Yeah.
And that's huge, because it's if someone were to look at just your bank statements and your calendar, what would they think is important to you? And that was a crazy thing for me to think about, where I was like, oof.
It's huge, and then you see, the thing is that because a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us, we didn't really grow up with much financial literacy. Maybe we didn't attend schools that necessarily taught us these topics. It's very uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. It's very uncomfortable to talk about how much you're budgeting for this, how much you spend on that, how much you make, right? Like all these conversations are like, we see these as like really rude. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, we let that taboo-ness of it all extend internally. That's a problem, because you see, if you don't want to disclose those things to other people, that's fine. You don't have to, you're at liberty, but you have to be honest with yourself. And that's what I find people having an issue with, is just be honest with yourself on how you're spending your money, where you're spending it. Are you happy with those decisions? Because a budget is really about you knowing where your money goes versus wondering where it went.
Exactly. And it's the transparency of looking at it without turning a blind eye. And, I can't remember where my last $200 went, right? Off top of my head.
Or like the person that says, I had a raise last year, right? And I don't know where that money went. Right. I can't tell you.
Or the constant narrative I used to have when I worked in Big Four accounting, where it was, oh, well, it's okay, I'm getting a raise this year. And then because I'm getting that raise, now I'll save more.
And then the year passes and you're like, not quite.
And then but here's the other thing too, Cindy, is nobody hit a pause button and said, so did you save?
Yeah.
Like there was no accountability of like me looking back and saying, so did you save? It was me saying that again and again, just like I'll start working out on Monday, or just like everything else, tomorrow's when I'll start. And I'll start saving up money then because I'll have more money. But right now I need this money in order to do X, Y, and Z. Like you would justify in your head all of the spending. Nobody was I wish I had somebody when I was like 25 and younger in my ear saying what you're saying and saying, open up your bank statement and your calendar too. Cause I was wasting time. And also going out and doing things and shopping. Right. So it's like, how are you spending your time and your money? Does that really align with where you want to be in a year, 2 years, 5 years? And if someone had just like asked that question and really held me accountable to it, I think I would be in an even better position. But it's like, I just wish someone could have taken my credit card away when I was in my 20s. Oh,
I wish somebody would have cut up my credit card in my early 20s. I was a mess. It's funny because people look at me now and they're like, oh my gosh, you must be so perfect with your finances. No, not at all. Okay. No. Not at all. It takes time, because me, like I'm a good saver, but I am a natural spender. I am. And that's something that people are surprised when they learn about me. They're like, wait, really? But you're so good with your money. Like you paid off all this debt. You invest, aggressively in all this. And how are you able to do it? And I'm like, because I budget. Like that's literally how. Because I have a plan in place that tells me, Cindy girl, this is what you're going to save this month. This is what you're going to invest. And this is what you get to spend. Like you have the permission to spend this money. Oh, I love that for me. I love it for me because it's like, I can spend these, let's say $300 as I so please. Right. And that when you shift your mindset from, oh my gosh, budgeting is so restrictive, it's going to take so much of my time, to this is time well worth it. This is giving me the freedom and flexibility to spend on things that I care about. When you shift your mindset to that, it is a game changer, honestly.
For sure. And do you think that this applies also with business owners and their business money, not just their personal too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm a business owner myself, and this is definitely, it's been a bit of an adjustment, right? From going from employee to business owner and really looking at what am I spending my money on? What, like, where is my money going? Is this something that's worth it? Following content creators like you has been really helpful for me in thinking about, is this actually worth it? I was actually tempted really 2 years ago, actually in 2020, I was tempted to join this like Instagram business coaches like mastermind program, right? Nothing wrong with that, except that it came with like a $5,000 price tag. And I couldn't really see, they didn't have too much to back up. It was more like the hype and like the really pretty graphics that they were putting out there. And so I decided to put pause on that. And I'm happy that I did, because I wound up finding out that it just didn't get the greatest of reviews, right? And that might seem like a small thing to kind of think about but when I reflect back on like what I have invested in with my business, I think about how important it is to make these really careful decisions. Just how I make careful decisions with my personal finances, with my business finances, it's equally important to determine, who or what are you going to invest in for your business and what kind of return is that going to have? And so like, I think about small examples of that. And to be clear, fast forward, last year, I did hire a business coach, and I'm very happy that I hired one that fit both my budget, but also like my goals. And it's with all aspects of life. That's really what I'm trying to say. It's not just with your personal life, but if you're a business owner as well, is how much do you want to spend? Where do you want to spend? And also, are you aware of what's coming out of your bank account? Because sometimes we could be so caught up with our personal money that we're not really paying attention to what's going on in our business accounts. And that could be very dangerous.
Or also, if you've been turning a blind eye to your personal finances, I don't think anything's going to change when it comes to the business either.
Yeah.
So you can actually transfer habits into your business.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is, it requires a whole new level of discipline and awareness around your business money, because as fast as it comes in, it goes right back out. And a lot of folks who are, making a lot of really good money are also spending a ton of it. And it's about that mindfulness, that intention that, like you mentioned with the zero-based budget, right? Everything has a purpose.
Yes.
And having some type of budget in your business is also really important, because you want to have, a really clear definition of what your purposes are for this money, and that you're moving the needle in the right direction.
Yes.
Because a lot of folks are trying to grow and scale their business, but their spending doesn't tell that story.
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like just like mindless spending, there's no real purpose behind what you're doing. Where as a business that primarily operates virtually, the temptations fall with, they come with subscriptions. In the form of subscriptions. Those are so easy to just like sign up for a bunch of them, and they're just like pulling money out of your bank account, like, every month. And it's like, wait, am I using this? Like, do I need this? Actually, coincidentally, just yesterday, I took a quick peek at like what April looked like. And I saw that, I had like my business insurance taken out. That's something we need. I had like my email marketing subscription, my bookkeeping, tax, the QuickBooks subscription. I'm like, okay, those are things that are critical for my business. But, it's always important to just check, because, I like last year I had some like video editing software that I was paying for every month. And I'm like, wait, I don't need this. Why do I have this? Cancel,
Yeah. It's kind of like that old set of clothes in your closet where I'm like, if I haven't worn this in 6 months, I'm just going to donate it, get rid of it, sell it.
Why do I need this?
Why do I need this if I haven't really touched it? And that's one of the things that we do too, is we look at subscriptions for clients, and we'll say like, are you really using all these things? Like, why do you have this and this and this? I thought they all kind of do the same thing. And it makes people realize that they can streamline a bit better. But it ties into the operations of the business. It ties into the people side. It ties into everything in terms of how you're spending. And I think the skills that you learned and that you cultivated through your own personal journey will then do your business a favor, whether you've seen that come to fruition or not. You're probably realizing that like, it's just taking care of another budget.
The habits really do bleed through, and it's good. It's good when you have these healthy, strong habits with your personal finances. It's just going to make you, I think, a better business owner, because ultimately, what are we in the business of? Regardless of what your purpose is, ultimately we want to make money, right? Like that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but we want to make sure that we are managing it correctly as well.
For sure. What sort of parting advice do you have for maybe newer business owners who are listening, even those who are experienced, or even those who maybe don't even have a business, just, looking to get better with their money and more savvy? Where are the places that they should probably start if they feel, overwhelmed, stressed out, or in any way resistant to the topic of money and budgeting?
Yeah. So I think the first step definitely is doing what they're doing right now, which is listening to this podcast, right? Listening to podcasts, reading blogs, following people that create digital content through, let's say, social media, YouTube, Instagram, etc. Following people that are people first and foremost, right? That can make money relatable and approachable, I think is the first key, because that's definitely what helped me. The second thing would be to understand your numbers. Whether you're looking to improve your personal finances or your business finances, you need to understand what we're working with, right? So really have a command over your numbers. What is coming in? What is leaving? The money that is leaving, do we like where it's going to? And this might mean taking a couple of hours, let's say on the weekend, for you to really sit down and go through things, categorize, but it's necessary work. Because let's say if you're looking to pay off your debt and you're overwhelmed and you don't know where to start, well, how much debt do you have? For what kinds of debt? How much car loans do you have versus how much is your mortgage versus how much do you have on those credit cards? You need to know your numbers. So first I would say financial literacy, second, know your numbers. And then third, of course, is going to be to create a plan. All right. So your money plan, that's another word for your budget. So create a plan for, okay, let's say I have $4,000 coming in. This is where I want that money to go. If you're a business owner, let's say you say, okay, this month I have $6,000 of revenue coming in. Wonderful. How much do I need to, let's say, maybe pay myself, pay other workers, pay for my subscriptions? How much? You will know from step 2 what those numbers look like, right? And then what do I have left over and where could I put that? Am I good on my taxes? Am I good with my other expenses that I'm kind of coming up with? Maybe I'm trying to save for something. Whatever it is, you need to know your numbers and you need to create some type of plan. That would be the best piece of advice that I could give. I would say would be applicable really to anyone. Financial literacy, confronting your own numbers, and creating some type of a plan that, involves you being honest with yourself too, first and foremost.
And for those folks who maybe need a little bit of help with that, some encouragement, some accountability, I believe you offer coaching, right, as well, right, Cindy?
Yeah. So I have my signature program, which is called the Blueprint to Financial Freedom, and we do monthly group coaching.
Awesome.
And my students ask me all of their questions. I have some students that are business owners, many obviously that have like a 9-to-5, and it's a great opportunity to ask questions, to get coached with community, right? Because when we start seeing that, I'm not the only one going through this, what are your tips on, saving for a wedding? That's like a big one, a big expense. What about saving for an upcoming vacation? I want to take my family to, let's say, Disney. And oh my goodness, is Disney expensive? Right? So like these types of things, I think it's really important for us to have, just relatable conversations in community and the opportunity to get coached. So definitely, if anyone's interested in that, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Zero Based Budget. You're more than welcome to DM me if you have any specific questions on that. And my website is zero-basedbudget.com, though I will be revamping that hopefully this summer.
Awesome. All of those links will be in the show notes, guys. So you can access Cindy's content, see what she's up to right now when this goes live. And I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your wisdom and experience with folks, because I think your story, luckily, is becoming more common. People are finding a way to overcome their debt. And what I love about what you do is you turn that into how can I empower others to do the same thing, which I think we can all learn from too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Cindy, for being on the show.
Thank you, Shannon.